Hey guys, this is Pratik and you're watching Technocrat. Technology has made our lives easy in every which way. We are able to capture our daily moments with the cameras on our smartphones. We are able to talk to our friends anywhere on the globe. We are able to order food online. We are able to book cabs on the drive. We are able to find the routes to our destination and navigate through there. And we are able to transact digitally. We are able to listen to our favorite songs or watch our favorite movies on the go. It is only the convenience and ease of doing things that technology has brought into our lives that we love the most. But do we take this all for granted? When I was a child, I saw people use rotary phones. These rotary phones had discs on them and there were numbers on it. So people hated when there was a zero in the phone number because they had to dial it all the way down. So they also had a separate book called phone book in which they had to write down all the contacts. So a mobile phone having a very basic functionality like storing mobile numbers in it, I can't even take that for granted. We had a monochrome television when I was a kid. A monochrome television is nothing but a black and white TV. Once we were seeing wild safari in the National Geographic channel. So my grandmother was telling, there is some forest in the other side of the globe and a cameraman shooting that lion. It is such a great technology. She was actually appreciating the value of being able to see some wild animal in some other forest on the other side of the globe. So as I grew up, we got a color television. Now we have a 3D TV. By the way, I'm a great fan of all the Pixar movies. I missed out a lot of movies in the theaters, but when I'm able to see these movies in my home, I can never take that experience of watching a Pixar movie in my home for granted. It was approximately 2.5 years ago when the movie Bahubali released. I wanted to watch that movie on the big screen, but then I had to go to the theater to book the tickets in advance. It was then that I learned that movie tickets can also be booked online. Just because I had the pain of standing in line or going to the theater to book the tickets, I can never take that experience of booking tickets online for granted. I suffer a strange phobia called topophobia. It is basically the fear of new places or a few situations. Getting lost in a new place is in fact my biggest nightmare, and I'm very uncomfortable talking to strangers to ask them about the routes to my destination. Once I was lost in a place in the outskirts of my city. I didn't know which bus to get in, but I could somehow manage to talk to a stranger and ask him, and he used Google Maps to tell me which bus to get in to reach to my home. I knew that Google Maps was a good place to know about routes and stuff, but then that was the first time he helped me using the navigation feature. Now it has become a daily routine for me to just check for the traffic updates on Google Maps, and I blindly rely on the time that it shows me that it would take me to reach to the destination. I can never take this thing for granted. The new and futuristic today will become the old and familiar tomorrow. It is just the Facebook, YouTube, the camera or apps for the people who have grown with it. It is technology for the ones who have seen it evolve. If someone has never seen life without few things, then how would they even understand or appreciate its value? People who were born in 80s or 90s feel that this is the most fortunate generation because they have technology at their fingertips. It is something that we only dreamt of having. They also say that the best technology is being wasted on a bunch of idiots. Now let's just see the flip side of the coin. If someone has never faced the adversity of not having something at their disposal, then why would they even understand or appreciate its value? Basically, I feel that we should help the millennials, or for that matter, anyone who takes technology for granted. We should just help them understand the concept of abstraction. So what is abstraction? Abstraction is being able to use something by not getting overwhelmed by its complexity. It is just like considering everything like a black box. You know what to give to it and you know what it gives back to you. Programmers are no strangers to this concept. In fact, abstraction is best explained in the terms of programming. So there are functions that programmers are familiar with and they don't even know what's written in that function. So basically a programmer gives some inputs or parameters to a function and the function outputs something to him. Now let's try to understand it in a different perspective. Say suppose there's a driver who's driving a car. The car driver just needs to understand how its steering works, or how he presses the clutch and changes the gears, or how he uses the brakes to stop the car. He doesn't need to know how auto transmission takes place, or how the piston works, or how the engine works, or why a car takes petrol as a fuel or diesel as a fuel. When I first learned about GPS, the global positioning system, I was awestruck. It's like you have to be in direct line of sight to 4 satellites. It can pinpoint your location approximate to 6 meters. It can even give you your latitude. But just think of a developer who is developing Google Maps. Say suppose he's overwhelmed by the complexity of how a GPS works, how would he even be able to integrate the functionality of GPS into a feature of the Google map? So taking technology for granted is also not always bad. You just need to understand that every complicated thing has even more complicated subparts within it. It is only because we are taking things for granted and the concept of abstraction works very well for us, we are able to build even more complicated things. And let me tell you, there is even a good part of taking things for granted. Only when people take things for granted, they'll have a demand or they'll start asking for new things. I feel that millennials would anyway not understand the value of technology because they have never lived without it. Maybe we can tell a few stories about how difficult was it for us without all these sophisticated technologies. At the end of the day, I would only suggest you not to take everything for too much granted, because there might be some situations where you'll not have these technologies at your disposal. And when you don't take these things for granted, you appreciate its value and you understand that these are very beautiful marvels of science. And you'll even be able to figure out a way in the time of adversities. There might be something in your life that makes your lives very easy. Let me know in the comment section below, what is that one thing that you take for granted? Always believe in science and make the best possible use of technology. I hope to see you in my other video where you get to understand something new. Until then, bye bye.